A catalog does a couple different things. Now we're seeing these like AI agents, like people are building these agents that can go call tools. LLMs, they aren't very good at math. So it's actually easier to have them write a little bit of code that does the math to open up the manage table create and write APIs, which have been long requested. And I know many folks are excited about this. That the resource hierarchy is this sort of like 3-level namespace where there's like catalogs at the top, and then schemas can contain objects.
Hey team! Today we're back with Michel Leon and Quentin as usual. For those who missed the first episode, Michel Leon is a product manager in charge of Unity Catalog, Delta Lake and Apache Iceberg, and she's back again to talk about Unity Catalog open source. Hi Michel!
Hi, thanks for having me back. Great to chat again. I'm excited to talk.
What about you, Quentin?
Yeah, so look, Michel, why don't we start by discussing a little bit about Unity Catalog? What's the open source version? Like, what is it doing? Why should customer, or maybe not customer, like what should user care about it and have a look?
Yes. Okay, great. So yeah, I'll start off with an overview of just the project, the genesis, and just quickly recap that. And then I'm really excited because I'm going to share more today about. And I also have some demos prepared too for the stuff that we're doing with the latest 0.2 release. Yes, I was just working on the demos just before this, so hopefully all goes well. But the just like a quick overview of the Unity Catalog project. It's something that was born here at Databricks around 4 years ago. We started working on it in-house in a lot of ways. So I guess I'll quickly recap what a catalog is. A catalog does a couple different things. It's both like some people call it like a technical catalog, where it does like metadata management about all of the objects or tables and files that you may have in object storage and stuff like that. And it takes care of the metadata of things like, okay, this set of files, this directory is actually representative of a table with this name and this schema, and also like maybe collecting stats and stuff like that. And then catalogs have also really evolved to take on like a greater and greater part in terms of both like say commit coordination, right? So like Iceberg and then now Delta also is like moving towards like catalog-based commits, and then also taking on a greater and greater role in terms of governance. So the next level beyond metadata management is how do you think about catalog being that source of truth for access control and things like lineage and auditing and discovery of all these objects and different types of tables, or in Unity Catalog, actually, it's multimodal, so it's like volumes, like unstructured data, or AI assets and ML models that all might be in your data and AI estate. Okay, so that's what a catalog is. And Unity Catalog, 4 years ago, we started working on it here at Databricks to really, like, we were working with Hive Metastore before, so Hive Metastore is kind of like the like leading open catalog standard right now, but it's showing a little bit of its age because it's been around for quite a while. And 4 years ago, we started working on Unity Catalog to address some of the limitations that we were seeing with the Hive Metastore standard, which is limitations around like governance and being able to do things like credential vending, which I'll talk about in a little bit, and also limitations around being able to govern things beyond tabular assets. So being able to govern. Yeah, like, unstructured data, like, your PDFs or images and like all of these like tons and tons and tons of like unstructured data that organizations are collecting now, right? And then what are they doing with that? They're training models. They're like deploying like applications and all of these like different use cases that are like really exploding over the past several years. And so Unity Catalog, we've been building that. We have over 10,000 customers running it in production now, in Databricks really successfully. And then just this past summer, actually in June, is when we went live with open sourcing Unity Catalog. So it was always really our intent to open source Unity Catalog, but it took us some time to like feel like we feel like we got something right here. And then we really saw this like gap around this like having this open standard for a data and AI catalog that also supports like multiple different table formats. And so we went live with that, the 0.1 release over the summer. And then just recently, a few weeks ago, back in September, we went live with the 0.2 release, which is chock full of updates. And yeah, I'm excited to dive in. And Yusuf, Quentin, lead me where you want to go.
You know, when I think you went live, I think a few weeks ago, and for some reason I was on LinkedIn very late because I'm based in Europe, and I saw that UC like V02 is live, and I was like, okay, let me check the release notes, and I start okay, identity authentication, ML models like UI. Like support for Spark and Delta. I was super excited, and my wife told me, "Listen, it's 11 p.m. Let's forget about Databricks. Let us watch our my movie."
That is so funny.
So that was the little anecdote here. And so please, Michelle, can you tell us, like, I've seen like this huge release, like huge, like a lot of exciting features. Like one of them was about identity authentication authorization. Can you tell us more about this part, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So, something that we added. So we added like basically a ton of different things, and actually you gave a great overview. So I guess I'll go quickly cover like, I actually have some slides too that I can pull up. But we added like a ton of different functionality for governance in the zero point 0.2 release. So in the zero point 0.1 release, we started with some of these like API primitives, like the core set of APIs for metadata management for different types of objects like tables and volumes and functions. And with the UC server and the CLI and all that stuff. And then in the zero point 0.2 release, a big core focus of us was to bring those governance primitives. So identity, authentication, the concept of users, right? And then users that can have different privileges to be able to access or read or write to different objects like tables or volumes and stuff like that in the catalog. And then that is built on another like building block, which is credential vending, which is something that we had in the zero point 0.1 release, and then we've kind of beefed up and added support for all three clouds for in the zero point 0.2 release. So I have a couple slides. I'm going to share my screen. Let me see. I didn't quite test this, so hopefully it all works. All right. Hopefully folks can see it, everything all right. Yeah, amazing. So I have a few slides here. I'll skip around these just to kind of just pull these up as reference while we're going through it. But here's some of the stuff that we added around identity, authentication, authorization. So at a high level, we support authentication with external IdPs, so the Google IdP with OAuth 2 token exchange. And we have SCIM 2 support for user management. So we're adding this concept of users. You can authenticate, and then also you can authorize those users to do things. And so we have object level grants similar to SQL grants. I'll throw up links for like the release notes and documentation and stuff like that, right? I don't want to just like do a super dry technical deep dive of all these different privileges. But at a high level, we've laid the core foundations of permission management in V0.2, starting with these like coarse-grained essential privileges at the catalog level around like, use catalog, schema, and then like select, read, volume, for example, and execute for different types of functions. And so these are like the core building blocks, and then that are available in the 0.2 release. And then we plan to, of course, extend these to other privileges in the future. But as you can see, there is already a ton of work that kind of went into even just this like, okay, so now we have users, and you can have, they can be authenticated, and we have like, Google IdP support and OAuth support. And then also all of these object level grants. So that's a little bit of a high level of how some of the like governance primitives that we added. I do want to touch on, and then stop me, I guess, if this is going too in the weeds. But I did want to touch on something that I mentioned earlier, which is credential vending. So you may or may not be asking yourself, okay, great. So I've authenticated and I've granted privileges to use or read from different objects, right? But how is that actually enforced? And so how this is actually enforced is with this mechanism called credential vending that Unity Catalog does. So essentially, Unity Catalog, you connect that to object storage, say like S3 or ADLS or GCS. And then what you do is when the engine is talking to the catalog, to Unity catalog, it'll actually ask for, so first it'll authenticate, right, with that token that we talked about you needing set up in the previous slide. It'll say, okay, here's this token, this token is mapped to this principal, right, that has these privileges. Maybe it can read from a certain table or something like that. And then it'll ask the engine will ask the catalog and say, okay, hey, here's this token. I'm trying to read from, let's call it like, say, my table or something like that in S3. And so then Unity Catalog will first authenticate the user and also ensure that that user is authorized, or that principal is authorized to access and read from my table. And then if it is, then it'll actually vend out a time-limited downscoped storage credential to access only the set of files that is needed to read from, in this case, my table. And so this is very powerful, and I know I'm spending some time on it, but I did, because this is something that, like, probably folks may have heard in other forums, and it's very important to emphasize that this is actually the way that that governance and this authorization is actually enforced. And so, because of course the server can actually refuse to vend that credential, right? And so what this does is it ensures the engine and the user only has access to the files that are needed for that table. It doesn't have access to all of the files that might be in object storage, which they shouldn't have access to. And then this mechanism is also the foundational building block for things like grants, right, which you just talked about, and also like roles-based access control, attribute-based access control, and a bunch of other different things. And then I'll say this also applies to any object that might be in object storage or any collection of files. And tables, volumes, and models all share this same property of essentially just being a directory in object storage. And so we do credential vending for all three of these objects. So unified governance across data and AI. Okay, right. I said a lot. You're probably, hopefully we're able to throw up these slides and stuff like that too. And some of the...
that's amazing. So wait, let me just do a recap. So as let's say an admin, I would go to the UC UI, which I think we'll talk just after, and I can say, okay, Quentin has access to, for example, this table of the folder within the catalog UI. And then I plug, let's say, Spark or DuckDB to the catalog. It's going to authenticate me with my Quentin email, for example. And then when I request access to the table, like UC is going to say, okay, he has access, and give back like temporary link to be able to access all the data, and then DuckDB gives me the answer. Is that correct?
Yes, essentially, yes. And then, if you don't have access, then it won't give you access to it, which is, I think, also the important part. It's always funny to demo that, though, because it just looks like demoing an error. But it is exciting to also, it's really important for governance for modern organizations.
And you mentioned something very important, that UC open source is a data and AI catalog, which means we handle the governance for tables, but also ML models. So I think, and this is part of the V0.2 release, where we can, I think, handles the governance for the ML model that are registered in Unity catalog. But technically, how does it work? Like you train a model in Databricks, and you register it, and then you grant the access with the UC OSS open source, UC OSS version?
Yeah, so here, what I can do is I actually probably have a demo, which I think just demos like pulling all of this together. I have a few slides which I can also just quickly throw these up, but it's maybe even just best explained with a demo. So I'll throw up the slides first. So something that we added, really excited about this is actually probably the thing that I'm most excited about besides the UI and the 0.2 release, which is adding ML models as governable objects to Unity Catalog. And so a little bit about like models, because I mentioned, and maybe this, I mentioned that, hey, models, they share this property of essentially just being a directory of files and object storage. And so just like to double click into that, another project, so Unity Catalog, by the way, it's in the Linux Foundation, AI and Data Foundation. And we have another project that Databricks helps to maintain in the Linux Foundation, AI and Data Foundation, called MLflow. And so we actually added an integration with MLflow in this 0.2 release as well. And MLflow has basically this way of like packaging up model artifacts that can then be deployed on all of these different services, like on Azure ML. Of course, it can be deployed on Databricks, Kubernetes, you name it. You can also run it as a user-defined function from Spark. And so MLflow has this standard way of packaging up model artifacts, which on storage is essentially just a directory of these files with various metadata. And so MLflow also has this concept of kind of like a model registry where you're able to track like different training runs and versions of models. And, we thought, hey, it's super important actually, a user might be running a piece of code which needs to go access different data sets like tables or not unstructured data that's in Unity Catalog. They also might be needing to like train a model, right? It's the same user that's doing all these things. And they want to have unified governance also for all those things. So it doesn't make sense to have duplicated access policies across different systems. And so MLflow and the Unity Catalog integration, basically, Unity Catalog can act also as a model registry. So we have this concept of like a registered model and model versions in Unity Catalog, and then we provide governance on those. And so a little bit, I'll just flash this up, and I'll just demo this. It's way better as a demo, but we also have like an MLflow integration, which I can show in a second. But first, want to make sure that I was answered any questions, is able to cover this well.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love the fact that we use MLflow, because MLflow is like it's some kind of abstraction layer on top of all the models that makes everything super simple. And MLflow has been using, like, it's such a successful project with so many user. I think it's a really good match.
Yes. Oh, so excited to collaborate and see all these things come together.
OSS project, which is something important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with Unity Catalog, I mean, like, open sources in Databricks is like, history, right? Like this whole concept of like the open lakehouse. It's like our heritage. It's like you have open source engine, open source catalog, and then also the open source storage formats. All of these things are to give customers and users like maximum flexibility and control, and the ability to like leverage the best tool that works for them, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I guess you have a demo for the MLflow, if I'm not wrong.
Yes. All right. Get excited. Let me show you this. Okay, I'm a little nervous actually, because I just did this yesterday though, so hopefully it should all be good. All right. Okay. So I'll actually show a couple things. First of all, can you just please let me know if you're able to see my screen? You should be seeing the Unity Catalog UI.
Yeah, UI, yes.
Maybe zoom.
Amazing. Here, I'll zoom in a little bit too. Yeah. Okay. So this is the Unity Catalog UI. So you can see here, you can browse all the different catalogs. I have two different catalogs. Unity default. Unity catalog is like the default catalog that comes out of the box when you just follow the quick start guide. And then Unity Catalog has overall, like I should just say, it's like the resource hierarchy is this sort of like 3-level namespace where there's like catalogs at the top, and then schemas can contain objects. And objects can be, like I said, because Unity Catalog is this multimodal catalog, can be tabular data, so tables. It can also be unstructured data in volumes, right? Like, so maybe you have some JSON file, like some semi-structured data like JSON, or you have just like a whole bunch of like images or PDFs, right? So here's the tables. Also functions. So functions, these might be like SQL or Python functions, right? That you might be leveraging as UDFs, or leveraging from GenAI tools and agents, which, I'll talk more about that as I talk a little bit about like what's coming next in the 0.3 release. And then models. So you can see I don't have any models today, no registered models found. So that's that abstraction that I was mentioning earlier. So let's see if I can go create a model in my catalog and also get the do a first training run of my version. So I also guess I'll show really quickly, I'll actually flash up on the screen, the MLflow UI. So as you can see, basically, I'm running Unity Catalog, I'm running MLflow, I have a UC server up and running right now. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop over into this tab. I already have this demo script that's set up. What it's doing is basically just configuring MLflow, configuring connecting to Unity Catalog as the model registry, and then I'm going to train like a small toy model. So let's get this working. So while that's running, I totally didn't test this. Oh, look, okay, I'm pretty sure this actually worked. So great. What I should expect to see is that we have a new model created here in the Unity.default, the schema. And you can see here, it has, I have this new registered model. I can add a description for it here. You can see I just created it. It's the morning here in San Francisco. And then also you can see I have this first version, this first training run. And so you can also see that the training run, you can see it appear here 32 seconds ago in MLflow. And so then maybe say I like made some changes to the other training data sets that I had governed here in Unity Catalog, and then I want to actually do like another run or experiment to see how it works. So I can just do this again, and then what I'll expect to see is that there's another version 2 of the model that's registered here. So super powerful to be able to do all of this together, right? With also your like tabular data sets, your volumes, the data that you're using to, and then being able to like track lineage, right? And like what version maybe of a set of a table that you were using for training. And so really, I think this like very powerfully brings to home the whole idea that like Unity Catalog really is this catalog for your AI assets, your tables, and unstructured data.
What's the magic? Like, how did you save the model in the UC? Do you use an SDK? Do you have the REST API directly? How does it work?
Yeah, so this is what we have an SDK and also REST APIs for being able to register models with Unity Catalog. And so all of this is packaged up really nicely, and I can also make sure to link, we should totally link all of the documentation so that you all can play around with this as well at home.
Yeah, it's amazing. So, wait, can you do it directly from MLflow? So, like using MLflow, you just connect to UC. Is it built in?
Yeah, well, that's actually what just happened. Is that I configured the MLflow integration is to use Unity Catalog as the model registry. Yeah.
So you say MLflow the registries UC and just save the model here, and that's it.
Yeah, here. Let me see if I think I have like a quick diagram that I can share of this. Yeah, so here it is. So it's like you have the MLflow client, right? And then it's actually you're pointing it to Unity Catalog is to use that as a model registry, and then MLflow tracking, that's the UI I showed, which just shows you some of the training runs. Yeah. Nice. Amazing. Yeah, and then it's all governed in Unity Catalog as well. And then here's that 3-level namespace that I was just talking about.
Yeah, then you can set the permissions, like who can access the model.
Exactly. Or you can even, be able to, execute this, right? Or like in your predictive application or something that, right, as like, by referring to it as unity.default.iris or whatever, you're able to actually work with this model in your applications.
And something important, like the UI is coming, everything is free of charge, including the UI. So this is something important because things sometimes can
it's all out there in the open, yeah. You can contribute to it, make it a little prettier. I think it's actually not bad. I think actually it looks incredible, honestly, for how quickly I know it came together. Yeah.
Yeah, like for like the first UI version, I think it's looking good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
knowing that it was done open source in June, like 5 months. I mean, not like less than 4 months later, we have a UI. We can now, and this is what I want to talk about. Like you can govern the ML models very smoothly, and now we can all have also this deep integration with Spark and Delta, and this is pretty much cool because this is what people were asking for, like being able to access. And you can also access external tables, manage tables. Can you talk a bit more about this part?
Yeah. So I think I talked a little bit about. I guess I spent a ton of time on like the models and stuff like that. Actually available since the zero point 0.1 release was the core APIs for working with tables, like external tables and managed tables, both in Unity Catalog open source and then also Databricks Unity Catalog, right? Because they're both 100% API compatible. And so the credential vending that I mentioned works on all clouds, and that's the mechanism by which you're able to securely access this data. And then you can, with something else that we just added in the zero point 0.2 release, was a Spark integration. So what's kind of exciting is it's like the Spark integration for working with Delta tables that are in Unity Catalog. So it's like really like the coordination across like these 3 different open source projects. Actually, so it's like, we're like orchestrating all the different releases and stuff like that. But now you can work with, create, read, write to external tables, and then read from managed tables where the writing and creating managed tables is coming later because that requires some additional level of coordination with the Delta project around coordinated commits and making Unity Catalog a commit coordinator.
Which
So
is
that's coming later.
Delta 4,
Huh?
which is part of Delta 4, the coordinated commits.
Hopefully sooner. 3.3. Yeah, but it's
Okay.
also part of 4. Yeah. It's super important because I think that this is what's going to enable us to do things like, for example, like policy table commits and stuff like that. So yeah, tons of exciting things, and
And I think
it's really fun.
to be able to query, to connect UC OSS with Databricks, you need also to enable on the account console this possibility to be queried by external engines, which gives an extra layer of security just to make sure that no one's share like a table that was not supposed to be shared and accessed by the OSS version.
Yes, 100%. So that is something that's actually out in public preview for Databricks Unity Catalog is this additional governance knob for turning on and enabling external access on, for example, like a schema and stuff like that. So turning on external access, what this means, because by default it's not on, which is a good thing because organizations, they want to make sure to it shouldn't be on by default because we want to really be cautious about things like any sort of like data exfiltration risk and stuff like that. So by default, it's not on, but you can enable at, for example, a schema level, the ability for external clients, which are of course authenticated and authorized and all of that goodness. And you have to like grant it, these principals, privileges in Unity Catalog and stuff like that. But it'll enable those external clients to be able to read and write to those assets that are in Databricks Unity Catalog or any Unity Catalog. Yeah, so that's a little bit about that extra governance knob because, like I said, we have tons of customers running this in production, and it's very imperative that we roll this out thoughtfully.
Yeah, that makes sense. And can you? Okay, I think Quentin have a question before.
Yeah, no, I was about to say we talk about the latest release, which was a few weeks ago. Do you know what the team and the open source community is working on right now, and what's going to be the next one?
That was my
question. You guys just want to know what's next. Didn't we give you enough in 0.2? No. Oh my God.
We always want more.
It's never enough. You haven't even finished playing around with 0.2 yet. There's too much. Yeah, so the things that we're working on, I guess first of all, I'd also say that ongoing, it's really high priority for us to continue to work with all these other engines and community projects and ML projects and stuff like that to be able to build out integrations with Unity Catalog, right? You don't need to wait for releases for that type of stuff. But in the next, what the team is working on right now, and let's just like, and this is the roadmap, by the way, it's all available in like GitHub discussions. Like we can talk about it there. In fact, there's like some good discussion about like saying, hey, like, can we prioritize some of this stuff earlier, and then like we just need to put like more folks on that, and like how can we get help too, right? Like what community members like might bring that right expertise to be able to support these different parts of the project. But right now we're working on, I think I mentioned, making Unity Catalog a commit coordinator, like server for Delta Lake. So that's a lot of collaboration with the Delta Lake project around, okay, Delta Lake, it has this concept of like coordinated commits where on a table you can say, hey, there's actually this service. It can be like DynamoDB, or it can be like Unity Catalog or Hive, Metastore, that says, hey, this service is actually going to be the source of truth for commits to me, not just the file system commits, because sometimes we get this sort of split brain problem where like metadata can be out of sync in the catalog and in the file system. And so there's that coordinated commits. So we're going to be bringing that to Unity Catalog, implementing that as commit coordinator. And then what we're going to enable is that's going to enable us to open up the manage table create and write APIs, which have been long requested. And I know many folks are excited about this. I see lots of folks in the Unity Catalog Slack asking, when is this coming? It's like, okay, there's a lot of moving pieces here. And so we're working hard on that right now. And designing some of that interfaces and stuff. And then the other thing that we're working on is more of the like GenAI functions, integrations, and capabilities. So I talked a little bit about this earlier. Is like we have functions in 0.1 release that you can govern in Unity Catalog. But what we're really excited about is this like really emerging but important use case around almost like using a catalog as like a registry of your AI tools, that now we're seeing these like AI agents, like people are building these agents that can go call tools. So like a simple example would be like, we sort of know, or like, I don't know, this is also moving under our feet every couple months, but it's like, LLMs, they aren't very good at math. So it's actually easier to have them write a little bit of code that does the math, right? And then execute that. And so like, that's an example of like, maybe there's like a Python function for, say, like, I don't know, calculating what fiscal year it is or something like that. Or that's a toy example, but like that basically these agents can actually go call. And then you can also do, of course, much more powerful things like calling other APIs and stuff like that from these agents. And you can register these functions in Unity Catalog with a little bit of metadata, description about how to use it, and stuff like that. And then what we're working on right now also is just like the UC, like the Python, the functions SDK, and then also a bunch of really exciting integrations. You can actually see this being built out in the Unity Catalog repo right now. It's like integrations with like LangChain and Anthropic and like OpenAI and Llama Index. So all these like notebooks, you can see that we're actually building it out there and it's out in the open. All these really exciting things that are going to come to life for being able to leverage UC functions in like this really cool governed and unified way from all of these like AI tools and being able to call AI models and stuff like that. So that's something that's in the works as well for the 0.3 release, which the team is heads down on targeting this coming quarter. Yeah.
And I believe this is our biggest differentiator, to have this AI integration, not only the data. And this is something important to point out. And I guess with all those exciting information shared with us, you already secured your spot for third episode with us, which will make you the person who attended or who was invited the most as a guest since the beginning of this channel, I think 1.5 years ago.
Amazing. Okay, well, I'm excited. We have to keep releasing stuff.
Yeah, I guess by the V1 release, you would have been like you would have like 10 episodes maybe. That would be good.
So funny.
Amazing.
I can't wait. I can't wait to come back and talk about all the cool stuff.
Anything to add, Quentin, before we close?
No, thanks a lot. It's really I think it's really funny to see how the evolution, it was from Hive Metastore, and then we had to create file format Delta and Iceberg because Hive had tons of issue, and now we're like, okay, let's build something else on top of everything, and we will bring AI and all this stuff together. I think it's a cool story.
Super cool story. Super cool story. Yeah, please, if you want to, if folks are interested, please go to unitycatalog.io, or hopefully we can just throw these links up and stuff like that. But that's where you can find all the links to following us on LinkedIn. Please star the GitHub repo. You can join the Slack community. And then I'll also plug that actually next week, if you want to learn more about the 0.2 release and what's ahead, I'm going to do a live AMA with Denny Lee, another rock star over here that I work closely with, and we're going to do an AMA at the next community meetup for Unity Catalog. And that's where you have a chance to win one of these shirts. Yeah.
Oh, I think
if you attend, yeah. We're going to give to 5
you have
folks.
already convinced maybe 100 folks to join the call, to join your AMA.
Amazing. Great. I hope to see everyone there.
Thank you, Michelle. Thanks a lot. And see you next time.
Yes. See you next time. Have a good one, y'all.
Michelle.
Bye.